Have you ever wondered why so many people are buried in the Paris catacombs? The answer lies in the story of Paris in the early industrial age, a city bursting at its seams with a rapidly growing population. Paris, known as the City of Lights and Love, was a beacon, attracting people from the countryside like moths to a flame. The promise of a better life, job opportunities, and the allure of the big city brought flocks of people rushing in. As the city's population swelled, it began to experience problems typical of a booming metropolis. But one issue stood out starkly: the problem of death and disease. In the late 18th century, the city's graveyards started to overflow. Death, an inevitable part of the life cycle, became a pressing issue for the city as the graveyards struggled to keep up with the increasing number of bodies. This led to a grim situation where the city's cemeteries, such as Les Innocents, one of the biggest in the 1700s, were unable to cope with the demand. The situation was so severe that the stench of rotting bodies reportedly filled the air, making it difficult for local perfumers to sell their goods. Imagine the City of Love, known for its chic streets and high fashion, being engulfed in the odor of death. By May 1780, the problem of overcrowded cemeteries had escalated to a point where they were literally bursting at the seams. A chilling incident occurred when a cellar wall of a property bordering Les Innocents split open under the pressure of excess burials and spring rains. This caused a horrifying rush of half-decomposed bodies and disease to flood into the basement. These incidents made it clear that the city was in a crisis. The authorities had to take immediate action. They ordered the closure of Les Innocents and all other cemeteries within the city. But this was just a band-aid solution. The city's dead still needed a final resting place, and the threat of public health was still looming. A city bursting at the seams, Paris was in dire need of a solution. And that solution would come in the form of the dark labyrinth that lies beneath the city, the Paris Catacombs. But that's a story for the next scene. Imagine the smell of rotting bodies permeating through the city. This was the reality for Parisians in the 1700s. Les Innocents, the largest Parisian graveyard at the time, was a particularly potent symbol of this grim reality. Overcrowded and overstuffed, the graveyard was a ticking time bomb, a burden the city could no longer bear. The graveyard was a suffocating testament to the city's burgeoning population. With the city's growth came an inevitable increase in mortality rates, and Les Innocents simply couldn't keep up. The grounds were unable to cope with the demand, resulting in a stench so potent that local perfumers were said to struggle to sell their goods. The smell of death was inescapable, a constant reminder of the city's grim predicament. Then, in May of 1780, the unthinkable happened. A cellar wall of a property bordering Les Innocents split open under the pressure of excess burials and spring rains. A gush of half-decomposed bodies, a cruel consequence of the city's overcrowding, flooded into the basement. The graveyard was literally bursting at the seams, unable to contain the city's dead any longer. The event was a wake-up call for the city authorities. Within months, they ordered the closure of Les Innocents and the city's other cemeteries. The City of Lights was in the throes of a crisis. No more bodies could be buried within the city limits, and with the threat of a public health crisis looming, the city was in dire need of a solution. The contents of the city's current cemeteries had to be removed, a daunting task that must have seemed nearly impossible at the time, but the city had reached a breaking point. The bursting of Les Innocents was a stark reminder of the city's mortality crisis, a crisis that could no longer be ignored. With no more room for the dead and a looming public health crisis, Paris needed a plan. Paris had a solution, and it lay beneath the city streets. Paris, a city that had always taken pride in its resourcefulness, looked down, deep down, for an answer to its pressing problem. What lay beneath its vibrant boulevards and charming alleys were old mines and quarries, echoing with the silence of centuries. And in those hollowed depths, Paris saw potential, a vast underground ossuary to house the city's departed. In the twilight years of the 18th century, the process began. With somber reverence, the bones of the deceased were transferred from the overflowing cemeteries to their new resting place. This monumental task, carried out primarily between 1787 and 1814, was as much an act of respect as it was of necessity. The bones were initially piled haphazardly, a skeletal jigsaw in the city's underbelly. But order gradually emerged from the chaos as the remains were arranged with a care that spoke of the city's love for its people, even in death. The entrance to this sprawling ossuary was constructed just outside the old city gate, the Barrière d'Enfer. The name, a chilling nod to the afterlife, translates loosely to the Gate of Hell. But there was no fire or brimstone here, only the quietude of a million silent whispers. Over the years, the catacombs evolved. The skeletal remains, once piled in disarray, were organized into a macabre mosaic that bore testament to the city's history. Rows upon rows of bones, neatly arranged and catalogued, told a story of a city that had embraced life and death with equal fervor. In the creation of the catacombs, Paris found a solution that was both practical and poetic. Here in the heart of the City of Lights was a monument to those who had once walked its streets, loved, laughed, and dreamed under its star-studded canopy. From chaos and decay, the Paris catacombs were born, a city's testament to its past, its people, and its unyielding spirit. The Paris catacombs are not just a mass grave, they're a history book written in bone. These hallowed tunnels house the skeletal remains of millions, including some notable figures from French history. Among the countless Parisians laid to rest here, we find names that echo through the annals of time. One such resident is Georges Danton, a leading figure in the early stages of the French Revolution. His fiery speeches and charismatic personality made him a symbol of the revolution. But his political career was cut short when he met the guillotine in 1794. Alongside Danton, we also find Maximilien de Robespierre, another revolutionary leader. Known as the Incorruptible, Robespierre was a key force behind the Reign of Terror, but his radicalism eventually led to his downfall and execution. Beyond the realm of politics, the catacombs also serve as the final resting place for celebrated artist Charles Perrault. Known for penning beloved fairy tales like Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty, his stories have continued to enchant generations long after his demise. In the present day, the catacombs have transformed from a clandestine ossuary to a popular tourist attraction. They snake 65 feet beneath the streets of Paris, and visitors are permitted to explore almost a mile of these chilling galleries. However, there are rules to follow and restrictions in place. Venturing into the off-limits areas has been illegal since 1955, with good reason. In 2017, for instance, 3 teenagers were rescued after being lost within its labyrinth for 3 days. So while the catacombs offer a unique journey into Paris's past, it's important to remember they are not just a tourist site, but a mass grave and a historical monument. Respect for those who rest here and adherence to the rules ensures the catacombs can continue to be explored and appreciated. Today, the Paris catacombs remain a chilling reminder of the city's past. They stand as a testament to the city's complex history, whispering tales of revolution, artistry, and the relentless march of time. Beneath the City of Lights lies a labyrinth of death, a testament to a time when Paris was teetering on the brink. The catacombs of Paris serve as a stark reminder of a time when the city was grappling with a public health crisis. With graveyards bursting at the seams and disease running rampant, Paris had to find a solution, and fast. The creation of the catacombs was not just a practical solution to a pressing problem, it was a bold and innovative move that demonstrated the city's resilience and adaptability. The catacombs, with their neatly arranged bones and silent corridors, stand as a monument to the city's past struggles. They tell a story of a time when Paris was on the brink, a time when the city had to make tough choices for the sake of its survival. The catacombs are a symbol of the city's determination to overcome any obstacle, no matter how daunting. Beyond their historical significance, the catacombs also offer a unique perspective on the city's relationship with death. In a society that often shies away from discussing mortality, the catacombs confront visitors with the stark reality of our shared fate. This encounter with mortality can be a humbling experience, reminding us of our place in the grand scheme of things. Moreover, the catacombs serve as a physical representation of the city's rich history, housing the remains of notable figures from the French Revolution and celebrated artists. In this sense, they bridge the gap between the past and the present, allowing us to feel a connection with those who walked the streets of Paris before us. Finally, the catacombs are a testament to Paris's ability to transform adversity into a source of fascination. What was once a public health crisis has become one of the city's most visited tourist attractions, drawing people from around the world who are eager to explore this dark underbelly of the City of Lights. The Paris Catacombs, a dark mirror to the city above, remain a poignant reminder of the city's past struggles and its will to survive.